Picture this. You're dating someone for a few months, and suddenly their grandmother invites you to Christmas dinner. Awkward enough, right? Now imagine that grandmother is the Queen of England. The dinner is televised worldwide, and one wrong fork could end up as a tabloid headline. Welcome to Meghan Markle's December 2017, where she did the impossible and broke one of the royal family's most rigid Christmas rules before she even had her ring officially on her finger. And here's the kicker. The Queen herself gave her the golden ticket. Before we dive into this royal exception that had everyone clutching their pearls, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that notification bell, because we're serving up royal tea that's too hot to miss. So let's set the scene. It's 2017, Christmas is approaching, and Meghan Markle is still technically just Prince Harry's girlfriend, or fiancée if we're being proper about it. They wouldn't officially tie the knot until May 2018, but something extraordinary happened that December. Something that made royal historians raise their eyebrows so high they practically needed scaffolding to bring them back down. Meghan Markle received an invitation to spend Christmas at Sandringham with the royal family. Now, if you're thinking, what's the big deal? Then buckle up, because you're about to understand why this was basically the royal equivalent of being handed the nuclear codes. You see, the royal family doesn't just throw around Christmas invitations like they're handing out sweets at a parade. There's a rule, an ironclad, written in invisible ink but everyone knows it rule. You only get to join the royal Christmas festivities after you've walked down that aisle, said your vows, and officially become part of the family. Partners, fiancés, long-term companions, sorry, you're staying home until there's a ring and a marriage certificate to prove you're in it for the long haul. It's like the world's most exclusive club, except instead of a velvet rope, there's centuries of tradition and protocol standing guard at the door. This rule isn't just some dusty old tradition that nobody takes seriously anymore. This is serious business. We're talking about a family that color coordinates their outfits for church, has specific rules about when you can and cannot cross your legs, and probably has a protocol officer whose entire job is to ensure that nobody holds their teacup incorrectly. Christmas at Sandringham isn't just a family bothering, it's a meticulously choreographed performance where one misstep could echo through the corridors of Buckingham Palace for decades. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Queen Elizabeth, the woman who spent 70 years on the throne being the living embodiment of tradition and duty, decided to break her own rule. For Meghan, the same queen who famously maintained an icy distance from anyone who hadn't officially joined the family, decided that this particular American actress deserved a spot at the Christmas table before she'd even selected her wedding dress. Talk about rolling out the red carpet. Royal commentator Richard Kay didn't mince words when he called this what it was, a rare exception. And when someone uses the word rare in royal circles, they mean basically never happens. Grab your history books because this is going into the archives rare. Kay described it as a baptism of fire, which honestly might be the understatement of the century. Imagine being Meghan, walking into Sandringham knowing that your attendance alone was breaking decades of precedent. The pressure must have been absolutely crushing. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say the Duchess who wasn't in the room, Sarah Fergie. Fergie, the woman who actually married into the family, gave them 2 granddaughters, and still got herself booted from the Christmas celebration after her divorce with Prince Andrew in 1996. Let that sink in for a moment. Fergie was married to the Queen's son, had been part of the family for years, and yet post-divorce she was persona non grata at Christmas. No invitation, no exceptions, no come-for-dessert compromise. The rule was absolute. So when Meghan showed up at Sandringham in December 2017, still months away from her wedding, it wasn't just notable, it was seismic. It was the Queen essentially announcing to the world, "I'm making an exception here, and I want everyone to know it." This wasn't a quiet bend of the rules. This was a full-blown, unprecedented break from tradition that sent a clear message about how the Queen felt about her grandson's choice of partner. Grant Harold, who served as butler to then Prince Charles between 2004 and 2011, gave us perhaps the most relatable insight into this whole situation. He pointed out that the Queen was incredibly strict when it came to family matters, which makes the invitation even more significant. Then he dropped this absolute gem. "I'm sure Meghan Markle was absolutely terrified. And honestly, can you blame her?" Think about what Meghan was walking into. This wasn't just meeting the in-laws over a casual Sunday roast. This was Christmas with the most famous family in the world, in a palace surrounded by centuries of tradition, knowing that every single person there was aware that she shouldn't technically be there according to the rules. Every conversation, every outfit choice, every smile had to be absolutely perfect. One wrong move and she'd be the American who ruined royal Christmas. No pressure, right? The genius of the Queen's decision, though, wasn't just about showing favor to Meghan. It was strategic. By inviting Meghan before the wedding, Elizabeth was essentially giving her a trial run, a chance to experience the full weight of royal Christmas before she committed to marrying into this extraordinary family. It was like a sneak preview of her future life, complete with all the formality, tradition, and scrutiny that would become her daily reality. In a way, it was almost kind, if terrifying kindness is a thing. And let's be real about what royal Christmas actually entails. This isn't your average family gathering, where someone burns the turkey and Uncle Dave falls asleep during the Queen's speech. This is a precisely timed event with gift exchanges on Christmas Eve, because they're of German descent and that's how it's done. A formal Christmas morning church service where the world's cameras are waiting to capture every moment, and a Christmas lunch that probably has more silverware than most people use in a year. There are dress codes, seating arrangements, and probably a footman whose sole job is to ensure that the gravy boat is passed in the correct direction. Meghan had to navigate all of this while being the new person, the American, the actress, and the woman who was technically breaking the rules just by being there. She had to charm the Queen, get along with the rest of the family, handle the media scrutiny, and probably learn the difference between 17 different types of forks, all while knowing that this entire experience was a massive exception being made specifically for her. The fact that the Queen made this exception tells us something crucial about how the monarchy was evolving, or at least attempting to evolve. Elizabeth spent her entire reign balancing tradition with the necessity of modernization, and this Christmas invitation was a perfect example of that delicate dance. She was acknowledging that perhaps the old rules needed some flexibility, that maybe waiting until after the wedding was unnecessarily rigid in a modern context where couples often lived together and were clearly committed before marriage. But it also highlights something else: the Queen's personal investment in Harry's happiness. After everything Harry had been through, losing his mother at such a young age and living his entire life in the public eye, Elizabeth seemed determined to welcome the woman who had captured his heart. The Christmas invitation wasn't just protocol breaking, it was personal. It was the Queen saying, "This matters, she matters, he matters." Of course, knowing what we know now about how things ultimately unfolded with Harry and Meghan stepping back from royal duties and moving to California, there's a certain poignancy to this moment. This Christmas invitation represented hope, acceptance, and a new chapter for the royal family. It was supposed to be the beginning of a beautiful integration of Meghan into the fold, a sign that the monarchy could embrace change and diversity. The exception the Queen made that Christmas also set a precedent that probably won't be repeated anytime soon. After everything that's happened, you can bet that the royal family has reinforced that old rule about waiting until after the wedding. Kate Middleton famously spent years dating Prince William before she finally got her Sandringham invitation post-wedding. The fact that Meghan bypassed that entirely makes her Christmas 2017 appearance even more remarkable in retrospect. What we're really looking at here is a moment frozen in time, when possibilities seemed endless, when an American actress was welcomed into the heart of British tradition, and when a 91-year-old queen decided that love and family were more important than rigid protocol. Whether you're Team Meghan or not, you have to admit that Christmas invitation was one of the most significant gestures the Queen made in her final years, a statement that the monarchy could adapt, could change, and could make room for someone who didn't fit the traditional mold. And there you have it, the story of how Meghan Markle broke a royal rule without actually breaking it, because the Queen herself handed her the permission slip. It's a reminder that even in institutions built on centuries of tradition, there's always room for exceptions when the circumstances call for it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one with more royal revelations.